Hey everybody. Now I'll turn this way. Welcome to Age of Quarantine. I'm Artie, and I want to thank Chris and Dave for letting me do this. Hope everybody's doing okay still. It doesn't seem to get better, does it? But, I mean, I guess we'll do the best we can. Tonight's guest is my good old friend Tucker Rule from the amazing post-hardcore band Thursday. They have been around since 1997 and put out, I think, 6 records. And played with them many, many, many times. And it's always a joy because all the guys in the band are fucking awesome people. And I played Jeff's basement many times back in the day, in the old late 90s Jersey scene in New Brunswick, which was always really cool. And I'm just waiting for Tucker to get on, and hopefully we're not going to fuck this up like I did Jason's first interview. But Tucker's a little bit more tech savvy than Jason. Sorry, Jay. I don't know if you're sitting in Florida watching this. I doubt it. Anyway, welcome to my other bar besides St. Vitus. It's called South. It's in the South Slope of Brooklyn. And like everybody else, just trying to keep our shit together until this all goes by. I hope, I hope everybody's standing strong. In the meantime, St. Vitus has a Kickstarter, which you might know about. It's Vitus Kickstarter. Oh, here we go. Hopefully this is going to work. Going live. I look like I just woke up. Probably like everybody else in the world. Yes.
Yo.
Tucky.
What's up,
buddy?
How are you?
Oh, I'm good, man. Well, not really, but, hanging in there as best I can. I'm sure.
You can finish what you were saying about the Kickstarter.
Oh, yeah, no, it's, I mean, just look it up. Vitus Kickstarter. It's been quite successful, and we are incredibly honored with the amount of people that have supported us and come out to try and make St. Vitus survive through this. And, as we all know, live music is up in the air at the moment, to say the least.
Hey, congratulations with that, too. 9 years, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a couple days. April 15th. It was 9 years.
Dude, how about
Technically. I mean, we had a couple of unofficial parties before that were,
I recall.
Unofficial. Yeah, I'm sure you were there. But yeah, man, it's pretty crazy. 9 years, it's like, it's a lot of reminiscing going on with all this shit, whatever. But congratulations to you with your newborn and your new house, which is fucking crazy. I can't even imagine the 1-2 punch. How's that going for you, man?
Dude, it's insane. I mean, it's good. All is well, surprisingly. It was, I think we kind of got out of Brooklyn right in time, to get to somewhere where there's space and I can go outside and not worry about, running into too many people here in the burbs. But yeah, crazy times.
It's I feel like people are being very, very, I won't say obedient because that sounds like, we're in a fascist regime, but people are being very cooperative. I have seen increasing amounts of fist fights and break-ins and whatnot, which I think is inevitable as time goes by. But, we have to get through this. We can't, society can't collapse. So.
Oh yeah.
We can't have a full collapse, right?
We cannot. Can't have a war all the time. I'll tell you that much.
Fucking awesome. I love it. Well, speaking of that, let's talk about Thursday. Let's talk about your career. Just to tell everybody, I did this with Jay as well. Tucker and I play in a band together. And in fact, he's played for both Aegist and for fucking Primitive Weapons.
Primitive Weapons.
Chris. And we had way too much of each other on this tour 2 years ago, where Aegist toured with the Get Up Kids, and then right after that we switched singers and went right out with Glassjaw and Quicksand. And
same van.
That was same van. we didn't even return it. It was like,
no.
But yeah,
that was a great experience, and you were a complete and utter joy. Also,
Likewise.
also the only sober guy on the tour, so you could
I could drive.
you could drive, which is always helpful.
Remember when we played Philly and it was like 5 p.m. and we opened, and then
Oh my God, worst show.
and then Dave had to leave
And he
for
locked the
family
keys.
stuff.
He took the keys with him.
He took the keys with him back to New York.
Oh my
Yeah,
God,
that was nutty.
yeah. How many hours do we wait for the locksmith to come in? It was crazy too because he barely checked any of our documents. He was just like, "Coo, coo, coo. All right, cool," and then he just like sticks something in the ignition and starts it. It was like, what
And
the fuck was that all about?
Dave left with the keys on a bus, and then his phone died as well. It was like the perfect storm.
I'm glad you remember that because I just kept drinking to try and forget it. Yeah. Anyway, so I've known Tucker for a really long time. My old bands, many of my old bands, from Airtype to Godfire's Man to Instruction, everybody pretty much has opened for Thursday at one point or another. We were all part of that sort of post-hardcore major label frenzy that happened in the early 2000s. Let's go back to the beginning. Was there a band? So you guys started in '97. Was there a band that you were playing in before Thursday, and were you playing with any of the guys in Thursday at that time, or?
Well, I had a band kind of. It was a straight edge hardcore band called Turnbuckle.
Oh, okay.
And I was the singer.
All right.
And I wasn't any good at singing. And our drummer at the time, one of my best friends, Mike Fullington, he couldn't play drums. He tried. He just wasn't as interested. So we kind of just switched.
Okay.
And then I started playing drums. And I think we played somebody's backyard. So technically that was our first and only show. So
yeah, as you do
I would
in New
say
Jersey.
Thursday is my first real band.
So by the time you started Thursday, you were do you think you were seasoned as a drummer? Because like Waiting's got some good stuff on it. And it's like, it seemed like you kind of had your shit together. If you had just started, I would imagine that you had been playing for a few years at that point.
When I bought the kit from my friend Mike, I think it was '97 that I bought the kit, actually. I played every day for like 4 or 5 hours when I would get home from school.
You do that now.
What's that?
You do that
now. I still do that now, yeah. But like when we wrote Waiting, it was like it's every beat I knew I put on that record. You know what I mean? And like same with Full Collapse, and like, same with all the records. Like everything I know is on those records. No,
fair enough. I mean, it's pretty impressive though, and I think, like I was talking to Jay last week, and I feel like very in a similar way, like the rhythm sections of a lot of these bands where it was like, everybody was kind of interchangeable at one point, but like the thing that really stuck out if you were a musician was this rhythm section, and the way you could tell was that you couldn't help but move when you watched. You know what I mean? Like, so you'd be playing a basement show, and the drummer and the bass player would groove really fucking hard, which is unusual in a basement show. And it really made shit stick out and made it memorable without being so obvious with like not having the best songs in the world. It's like eventually you get there, but yeah, I mean, you had that sort of groove from a very early time, and I remember. Well,
I appreciate that, and it's funny that you bring up Jason Black, because Jason Black and Georgie Rebello are two of one of my favorite rhythm sections there is. And
that's the biz, man.
I look up to those two, especially Georgie on the drums, because like there was a lot of stuff that he would play in like Blacktop Cadence that I just would listen to over and over again and be like, how can I use something like that? Like, how can I borrow that from George? Because I just think he's fantastic, So I kind of like learn from Hot Water Music, and Blacktop Cadence and stuff, like to play like with that fire, and not that I play with the fire that Georgie has, but I try to kind of go at it like he does. You know what I mean? Like,
well, his fire is fired by Jameson, but yeah,
that's true. He could be on fire if you lit a match.
But no, it's super interesting. Who else like it doesn't even have to be in our scene, obviously, but like who else did you like really like get shit ideas from?
I mean, I gotta tell you, like one of my biggest influence in the world was Quicksand. Alan Cage, You know, Alan Cage and Sergio as a rhythm section, unstoppable. You know, and then you know also like when I always liked the Deftones a lot. You know, like I liked Around the Fur, but I loved White Pony. Like I loved White Pony, such a great record. Like, and Abe is just fantastic, and just he's got so much groove and so much swagger that, you know, that really kind of stuck with me. Like that, I want that kind of feel. You know what I mean? I want, what is it that he does that makes it feel so good? You know, and then also I always loved Ink and Dagger. Ink and Dagger was one of those bands that did all this kind of weird stuff that just really stuck with me as well. You know, kind of a little bit left to center at the drive-in as well.
Ink and Dagger's a random
one.
What were you gonna say? Ink and Dagger's a random one. I mean, not random, but yeah. I mean, I would guess because they were from Philly, so you saw them quite a bit during that time.
Oh, yeah, mesmerized by them.
Yeah, I don't think I brought it up on the interview I did with Jay last week, but they play in the Hardback in Gainesville, and we drove up and there's a bunch of kids in a fucking mini pool with Hawaiian shirts on, like, and they're all just like chilling in front of the Hardback. And it's like, what's going on? It's like, Ink and Dagger's playing. We're having a fucking Hawaiian party. For anybody who doesn't know, Ink and Dagger dress like vampires. So
yeah, it's completely. They haven't seen the sun in forever.
It's a classic, like, wise ass Florida hardcore kid shit. But yeah, man. So you guys did the demo, and then you put out Waiting, and then like, was there a really fast development from Waiting to Full Collapse, which Full Collapse is often thought of as in the post-hardcore scene as a classic, like, benchmark record, and so did you guys feel like you were like really gelling before you recorded that record? And you know, you got signed to Victory, which I guess was a big deal back then. Who the fuck knows now? Yeah. But yeah, like, did you feel like
we were having so much fun? Like when we wrote Waiting, it was kind of like everything we all knew, you know. And like Tom and I, going back to your earlier question, did I play with any of the guys from Thursday Prior? Yes, Tom was my best friend. Is my best friend from, we were friends since high school, you know. So we were in that band together, so we knew how to like hang out and play together. Then we started Thursday, and it was just like we were just having so much fun writing stuff to try to play in Jeff's basement, because Jeff had this like DIY basement in
Rutgers.
I
played it, dude. I played it numerous times. Yeah.
Yeah, and like he had Saves the Day, Hot Water Music, Ink and Dagger, like all those bands came through. You know what I mean? So we basically started a band to play with those bands, you know, because we just wanted to be a part of it, you know?
Right.
And so we just had fun, like writing Waiting, and then we just started writing Full Collapse, and it was just another thing where it was just a good time. We weren't expecting anything to happen.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like we were all in college, like kind of in college, like nobody gave a shit really about college at that time, you know? We were just kind of like, I mean, personally, I was like, man, what am I going to do with my life? Like, I have no idea. Like living at Rutgers, but going to a community college. It was just a weird time in my life, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, we were just having so much fun writing music and playing music that it just really, we decided to make a video for a song called Understanding in a Car Crash, because Steve's like a film school buff, our guitar player Steve. So he just had a bunch of friends that were down to make a really cheap video for us, and we made it. And didn't think anything of it. Got asked to do a tour with Converge and Saves the Day at the same time. So we had to like choose which band to tour with, and we were all gutted. You know, I think the Saves the Day tour was a little bit longer, so I think we went with that one. I can't remember. It was, you know, back in the early 80s, so it was a very, very long time ago.
Okay.
It wasn't the early
80s. Yeah. 80s, whatever.
So, yeah, and we went on the Saves the Day tour as an opener. It was us, Hey Mercedes, and Saves the Day headlining, and the video kind of caught on MTV. So that's when
it became a buzz clip, right? If I remember correctly.
Yeah. That's when stuff started getting like crazy and going out of control. So Full Collapse was written like innocently, you know, just a couple of kids in a basement having a good time, you know, wanting to play more shows, you know, and the only way to play more shows was to write more songs.
Sorry, my buddy Gypsy George is just saying hi.
Hey.
But yeah, the fucking it was I remember it was pretty surreal at that time when you guys started blowing up like that, because that video was definitely done on the cheap for sure. It wasn't, you know, for videos of, for all the high budget videos that were on MTV at that time. It's pretty amazing that you guys got the traction out of that, you know. And it's like, I mean, it's fucking great. It's punk rock, you know, like, and it really played to the spirit of what you guys were truly about. I mean, Jeff's lyrics are bar none some of the best, period. And you know, he's always been
He's
a guy
a wizard, dude.
He comes off as being very sincere in his yearning. Like I mean, we like when you were talking about you started a band to play with all those bands, you know, like that's what I did in the early 90s on Long Island. And it was like, you know, that was great, but your timing was fucking perfect. Perfect. I mean, it couldn't have gotten better with like you guys and
It
Taking
chose
Back
it
Sunday.
better, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it was, you know, obviously it launched a career for you, and it's thinking back to it. You know, I was kind of going over notes I made for this interview, and I was just thinking back to that time. I was like, what a weird fucking time. It's so fucking weird. You know, it was like grunge was dead, and this whole new thing was happening, but it was this whole new thing with my fucking friends. I was like, what the fuck?
Totally.
Like, I actually know these people. Like, I came up with these people, and it was awesome to watch, and it was super fun, and you know, like, so I want to get.
It was so crazy that you would watch TV and you would see these videos and you'd be like, oh, I know that dude. Oh yeah, I know those dudes.
Oh, yeah.
I know, like, everybody who was coming up, you just knew everybody.
Yeah, and you'd wait to
it
play the festivals to be like, hey, I'm gonna get to play the festivals. I get to see everybody. You know, it's
Totally.
like, it's fucking awesome. But yeah, man, fucking like, so moving forward, after Full Collapse hit, I know that there was a lot of shit that went down with Victory Records for you guys.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
I mean, yeah, things just got really weird, you know, like the record was selling a lot, you know, but they wouldn't push us any harder. You know what I mean? They wouldn't do anything else for us. And I remember like their whole big thing was like they were going to make a whoopee cushion for us that was going to go out with one of the records. It was like this, we were like a serious band, you know what I mean? We're not, if you know us, we're not very serious people, you know what I mean?
No.
But like, you know, the dark cloud of serious emo band was, you know, we were real with that, you know, at that time. So a whoopee cushion just wasn't sticking with the program. But yeah, like we just felt like we were getting screwed a little bit here and there. You know, there were some great people that worked at Victory, and you know, no doubt about it, that we're still friends with today. But yeah, that just wasn't the right place for us. It did help, you know, get our name out there. Like there was a sampler that went out, a Victory Records sampler that went out at Warped Tour, so people like knew some songs from that. So you know, there was a lot of good that came out of it, but we just had to get off. And the only way to get out of that contract was to go to a major label.
Which is fucking crazy. That's just like the weirdest stipulation. Like, what is that about?
And then we got a lot of backlash initially, like being called sellouts because we went to a major, but it was like, it was either that or like, we're just not a band anymore. So
right.
If you were to ask me now to go back in time, I would do the same fucking exact thing again because, you know.
Well, you might not have signed such a shitty contract, but you know, but who knows? Yeah, Tony might not have put out the record if you didn't. So
exactly.
I mean, everybody was in the same ballgame. I'm trying to put it in perspective as to when the Taking Back Sunday record came out, that blew up. Was it Tell All Your Friends?
Tell All Your Friends, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was right around the same time.
And Hatebreed as well. Hatebreed had just left to go to a different, I forget what major they went to, but you know, same
Universal.
Same
yeah,
yeah.
It was really interesting to see, and you guys for an indie label, Victory was selling 250, 300,000 copies of these records, and sometimes paying royalties and sometimes not, apparently.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's always interesting because on tour, if you played in Chicago, you would always go by the Victory House, you know, and like hang out, and everybody, you know, it's like it was like 3 or 4 levels, and everybody's hanging out, and Tony was on his throne somewhere in the back, and maybe you'd see him or not. But it was always a interesting trip because, like, you know, I'm friends with the guys from Grade, and obviously Taking Back Sunday, who eventually I believe sued them, and got a whole bunch of money, and back royalties. yeah, it like there was literally not a single story that was good, not one.
Yeah, it was a weird place. Dark cloud, dark
Yeah,
days.
it's like fucking Donald Trump running a record label.
Yeah, yeah. You needed it to be seen, and then once you were seen, you're like, ooh, I want to go back in the darkness now. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to be seen anymore with this group.
Well, it worked for you, and then you guys signed to Island, right?
Yeah,
In
yeah.
2002 or 2003, I think it was. Um,
2003, I believe.
and yeah, what a city, what's a city for Light Divided? I believe
Well,
was the
no,
first.
War All the
No,
Time.
oh, War All the Time was the first
Yeah,
major label
War All
record.
the
Yes.
Time. And
Okay,
and
you did that one with Sal Villanueva again, right?
yes,
You didn't change it up
no,
because
Sal and Tim Gillis.
I had forgotten that you did a record with Dave Fridman, which
Yeah,
was City by Light Divided. And War All the Time did really well. That was a really
it did.
successful major label record. I remember seeing you on MTV live with Thrice or something. It was like some
Yeah,
series that they had. And I was like,
yeah, yeah,
holy
yeah.
shit. I think you played Roseland. Did they film it on?
It was Roseland, and then there was another one that was at a theater in Detroit, and I can't remember what it was, but also
St.
with Rice.
St. Andrews or something? It couldn't have
Not
been. That's
St.
too
Andrews, it's like
small.
a
Yeah.
big, like 3,000 capacity, beautiful theater. It's like right downtown. I can't remember what it's called though.
And is that the one that eventually became the live DVD that came out? Or is that's later on?
I think that's later on.
Yeah, it's later on. Okay. I wasn't sure. Just trying to keep track.
Yeah, yeah, no, you're good.
So yeah, so with what was your like? Me and you have personally had this conversation because we both. I mean, I had a much less successful major label experience around the same exact time. But like, what was your experience with Island Records? Did you find that to be something that you were happy that you guys did, or like what was like your overall experience with all that? Like being with all the calls of being a sellout and all that other shit. Like what, like was it worth it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we signed with a label with a bunch of great people. Like really good people. Like not what you would expect at the time. Like when you hear the word major label, you think just like a slew of douchebags. That wasn't the case at all. Really great people. And I think we knew we were going to write the same record we would write on Epitaph,
Did you have total? Did you have
whatever, or
total?
Eyeball.
Did you have total artistic control? You did.
Yes.
So there was no like
Yeah,
handing in a record
100%.
and going like, "Hey, there's no single on this. We need a single," or any of that shit.
Uh, I wouldn't say it went like that, but there definitely was like there needs to be a few more songs. So
Okay.
I mean, we definitely like gave like a almost complete record at first because we were trying to hold back a little bit, and some of our best songs came out of that, of the pressure of like completing the record, But we did have total freedom, We were able to choose Sal and Tim again to do, to produce the record,
Right, right.
which we were worried about, you know what I mean? It's like
No,
you don't, as you know, you don't want to change your band. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you want to be the same band.
Well,
like that's what, if people like you
right.
you obviously have to push the envelope, but you can't just like change.
Well, you get signed, and they're signing a band for a fucking reason, right? And then all of a sudden they're just like, hey, we want you to work with this guy, and then that song doesn't work, and then it just escalates if you let them in, And I agree with you as far as like my experience as well. I met lifelong friends, people I love forever, who worked at these labels, who really, really, really. Hey, Jen Littleton. Speaking of which,
Hi, Jen.
Like these are people who are lifelong friends, and they were real music fans, and there were people that really, really loved what you did, but also loved you. Hey, Squishy Mang. Don't even look down, Tuck. You'll never stop. But yeah, it was fucking. I had a great experience personally. Do I wish it was more successful? Of course, but like yeah, I think part of this whole music thing and part of like our lives and the scenes that we grew up in, and even the major label experiences, was really about making friends and relationships. And like those relationships are gone on forever, man. I like think about, I don't want to fast forward too much to The Wanted, but when you played in The Wanted, I'm sure you were going around the world seeing fucking hardcore kids show up, like, or at least
Totally.
like, you know, like, hey dude, I'm in town. What's up? Yeah, fuck yeah. What are you doing? I'm playing Madison Square Garden. Fuck you.
Yeah. I got that gig. Speaking of The Wanted, I got that gig from Eric Wong, who worked with us at Island. You know, that's how I got the Wanted gig. You know what I mean? So it's like making friends, like you said, it's like very important. People ask
Yeah.
like, "Oh, how do you do it? How do you tour? How do you do all this stuff?" And it's like, you know, I always say it's like half being proficient at playing your instrument, and then half like being fun and a good person and friendly
Yeah.
and having a good vibe. You know what I mean?
Well, there's no room for bullshit anymore. I mean, especially
Yeah.
now, Jesus Christ. But like,
Yeah.
you know, it's interesting you talk about that too, because that was something I had in my notes. So, like, one of the things that you're really, really good at is having like drum cams and like your Instagram and your Facebook and all this stuff that has like, it's very active, and it's very, I'm not going to call the Tucker Rule brand because that's fucking lame, but like you're really efficient at doing. I was very jealous when we were on tour together. I was just like, fuck, man, like Tucky just fucking kills it on every level, and I'm just like, I feel so fucking lame. Like, should I have like
Thanks, dude.
should I have a GoPro on the end of my fucking bass and like, you know, like how fucking lame am I?
It's the instrument that I picked. You know what I mean? It suits itself to, you know,
Yeah, you're sitting still.
being like filmable and more exciting. You know what I mean? Like playing drums is just, there's more to it. You know what I mean? Like I could sit and watch shredding guitar videos all day as well, but there's something about drum videos that I think attracts more, you know, more people. And I don't know. Yeah. I always film myself to see like, where am I fucking up? Like, what can I improve on?
Right.
You know, especially like playing songs with Primitive Weapons, for example. We're not playing to a click, you know, so I would watch it back and be like, was that too fast? You know, how do I make that transition smoother? Just stupid shit that like only I notice because I'm a fucking nerd when I play drums.
Well, yeah, and I thought,
you know,
like, and I know you do because I've been in the van with you when you're like watching it and like analyzing what you did, and it's really interesting because I don't think I've ever played with anybody who does that, and you know, like it's kind of like show up, play the gig, blah blah blah. Granted, Primitive Weapons was very challenging drum bits, but
sure.
I felt like, especially towards the end, I mean, Chris was at that last show. Chris Enriquez, who normally hosts this show, was
hi Chris.
Hi Chris. He you know, he writes these really challenging drum parts, and I felt like by the end of the tour you had made them your own, and like you had just turned this into like, it got really comfortable, like really comfortable. And it's interesting. Like
Thanks,
you know,
dude.
Eric and I talked about it
that
quite a bit. Yeah, I mean, it's like you were able to transform his style into yours, and then you started doing fills that were, you know, out in left field, that were like totally different. You know, I think we fucked up that last song at the end of the tour. But
yeah.
But besides that, you know, I mean, that was a fucking joy. It was a joy.
Thanks, dude.
And the fact that, you know, like every town we go to, you knew somebody who was fucking super cool I'd never met before. So that was like, that was really nice. To tell you the truth, it was like every town we went to, it'd be like, holy shit, like, I don't know who this person is.
Oh, there you go.
I'll be back. Yeah,
no, you know, it's really fun to play the Primitive Weapon stuff, you know, and it was one of those things where it's like, you know, I really like what Chris wrote and played on those records. So, you know, I'm trying to play what he's playing, like, you know, what I think are the important parts, like the parts that everybody like the band needs to hold together, you know what I mean? But then, you know, like I did try to make some of it my own, because you know, there's just parts that every drummer has tricks, you know what I mean? Tricks that they pull out, like things, their go-to moves, go-to fills, you know what I mean? So if I can do that on the fly comfortably, you know, I'm going to throw it in, you know what I mean? If I think it makes sense.
Yeah. But I mean, I felt like also you and Eric having played together for so long as a rhythm section made it a lot more comfortable for you. I mean, I don't know. For me, that was a really, really fun experience. And it was something that I felt like, you know, like I saw somebody work their ass off to fucking get there and then just fucking go for it, you know. And it was, and we were playing to a lot of people. So, you know, like it was, you know, it was an easy tour as far as I was concerned.
Definitely.
There was no pressure on us. We were just like,
Primitive Weapons was a fucking great band. Is a great band.
Is a great band.
I
We're not
think
dead
that
yet.
you guys wrote some fucking crazy good songs, and it's really fun to play. It's you know, I try to play for and with as many people as I can, you know, but it's really nice to play with people that you love and also play songs that you like, you know, that you're into, that you get, like, that are fun to play and you don't mind learning them when you have to listen to them 10, 15, 20 times, you know what I mean? You actually enjoy listening to them, you know? You can't
No,
wait
totally.
to play them.
Totally, yeah. And that was like, I mean, that was awesome. And again, I thank you. Let's get back to you, though, for you. So what year did you do that My Chemical Romance tour?
What year did when I played for them?
Yeah. It was just one European tour,
2007.
Right? 2007. So
it was
what album were they on?
It was right after Black Parade, and it was the Pacific Rim. It was like Malaysia, Singapore, Hawaii, Australia, New Zealand. That was 2007.
And what was, I mean, those guys are like another level. Like, what was that like?
Dude, it was insane. You know, unfortunately, their drummer was injured at the time, and, you know, I was lucky enough to get asked to come fill the shoes, and it was insane. It was amazing. You know, I've known them forever, so it was very comfortable to come in, and, you know, I knew most of the songs from either watching them be recorded and written, you know, or just from, like, you know, they're a great band, so I would listen to their records as well. So it was a lot of fun, and it was wild, man. It was the first time that I had played with a computer on stage, with, you know, like a metronome. It was pretty wild.
Was everybody was on ears and like
everyone was on ears,
and it was like a light show.
There was pyro and shit, and, you know, so things had to go, you know, to a grid. So it was very nerve-wracking at first because I had no idea that it was like that. So walking into the first rehearsal, mind you, I had been asked a couple weeks prior if I could do this portion because Bob, their drummer at the time, couldn't make it. And I was like, yeah, I'd be totally down. So then fast forward a couple days later, he's like, oh, don't worry about it, Bob's doing the tour. Like, you know, you're off the hook. And I was
Damn
like,
it.
fuck. So I remember the girl I was dating at the time, I flew back to Denver to go hang out, and, like, I get a call. I get like 10 missed calls when I land at Denver. And it was Jeff P., one of our good buds, and he used to work with my Chem. He worked with Thursday. He's like, dude, get on a plane. Like, you gotta fly to Australia. Like, we need you. You know, Bob can't even hold his bag. So
the good old days.
I got to the airport with a backpack, and I had a backpack with, like, one set of clothes and some running shoes, and I just flew to Australia, and, like,
wow,
with basically had to get my in-ears sent, you know, from my mom's house. It was just a really wild time, and it was a fucking great time, though. Like, what a memory, great memories, and, you know, it was a pleasure to play those songs. And it's funny, dude, when Thursday did the My Chem reunion a couple months ago, I was sitting in there watching them sound check, and I was like, you know what? I think I'm the only person in this room that's played nearly every single song that will be played here tonight. You know what I mean?
That's fucking awesome. That must have just been an incredible experience. And, like, you know, like, so 2007, you come back. Is Thursday still signed to Island, or had you guys signed to Epitaph at that point?
I want to say we were still on Island.
Yeah, I think you were. I think the second major label record came out, which was, I have to fucking look because I'm a fucking
A City by the Light Divided.
Yeah, well, yeah, because fucking dickhead Jeff writes these long fucking titles. Sorry, Jeff. I know you're sensitive. So, like, was that in the middle of a tour cycle that you did that tour, or, you know, like
It was, yeah, it was between tours. I feel it was definitely like I definitely had off. I know that.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
but yeah, that was a wild time, and the whole A City by the Light Divided time was a wild time because we put out that record and we were so excited about it. It did really well the first week, and through Warped Tour it was doing really well, and I think it sold like 100-something thousand records, and the label had heads had switched at the time. Like we used to deal with Lear Cohen, and he was amazing, and that whole island team, Livia and Eric Wong, they were all amazing. But the whole company switched. Still remained Island, but it was now L.A. Reid and all his people came in, and they were great people as well. But they didn't get the band, and they were like, oh, it's only sold 100-something thousand records, so we're gonna have to pull the tour support for this record, which was crazy because 100,000 records is a shit ton of fucking records.
It is, but like what?
But not during that time.
All right, so I've had this conversation so many times that like that. Do you know how much your budget was for those records, recording wise?
No.
No.
Right. I knew where my drums were.
I guess I was much more involved in the business side of my situation.
Yeah, I was not.
I spent $650,000 doing the instruction records. Think about it.
They sound great.
No, not even.
You sound
not
great.
Even. It's okay. It's okay. I mean, but yeah, man, it's a fucking. I mean, but that also like it's so weird when you're in those situations. Like I remember Tom had to move when we were in Los Angeles recording, so that cost like 10 grand. The label paid for that. It came out of our recording budget for him and his girlfriend to fucking move. Like it's just so ridiculous. Like you know, like you don't even, you get to a point where you're just like you're saying, like, you don't even know how much you spent. Like I literally got to a point where I was just like, I don't, like Jen had told me how much we spent and I was just like, fuck it. Let's just keep spending it.
Yeah.
Fuck it. I don't care.
It's yeah.
That's an unfathomable amount of money to me. Like I didn't see it.
But there's somebody else. There's somebody else before or after you that's going to make, 40 times that, a Pink record or whatever, that totally. You're like, so you don't feel bad. Of
course. I didn't feel bad. I just like, I knew that everybody around me in the studio was making way more money than I was, so it's like you're basically paying for the privilege of having that lifestyle. And, and that's okay. That's okay. I couldn't have had more fucking fun. I couldn't have paid for it. That's for sure. For that much fun. So let someone else fucking pay for it. Whatever works.
Exactly.
Anyway, we're in the middle of a fucking quarantine and all our lives are falling apart. And I'm
yeah. Right.
Yeah. Hey, I spent this much money like a fucking asshole. All right.
$650,000 to make a record. Fuck it.
Fuck it. Great. Terrific. All my businesses are going down. Oh, who cares? So fast forwarding a little bit, I wanted to talk about you playing with Frank recently. Like, how was that? Like, I would imagine that was fucking really cool. I mean, we talked a little bit while you were touring and all that shit, and like that record is super cool. The thing about Frank, and I'll just preface this with, I remember when Frank played at Vitus the first time, and you weren't in the band. And I was there, like every day at Vitus, like George and I were sitting there and like whatever. And there just was a line of kids all dressed in black with dyed black hair down the block. And the show only drew maybe 120 people. I swear to God. But every one of these fucking kids, I walked outside and I was like, hey guys, it's noon. Like he's not going to be here until like 5:30. And they were like, that's okay. We'll sit here. And they waited and waited and waited. And when he got there, they all just sat there very obediently getting autographs. And I remember I texted Nelty and I was like, Nelt, like, is this going to be an issue? Like, do I have to worry about these people? Is Frank like got a problem with it? And he's just like, she was just like, no. She's like, don't worry about it. It'll be fine. They're all really nice.
Dude,
she's like, I can probably name them all by name.
Those 120 people, it's 120 people that don't want to be anywhere else in the entire world but where they were. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like,
I was blown away. I was blown away.
Frank is literally one of the best human beings on the planet. Like, he's talented, he's driven, he's handsome as fuck, he's smart as fuck, and he's like the real deal, you know? He's just the real deal, and there's no way of not seeing that when you meet him or talk to him. Like, he's the real deal.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I
you know,
feel that way.
again,
I feel that way, like, about a lot of the MyChem guys. I feel like, you know, like, I only know a couple of them, but Frank, I've met a bunch of times, and, like, it's just, you know, like, they're one of us. You know, they just came from
100%.
our scene, and shit happened for them. And, you know, I'm really, like, when I was a kid, I used to be really jealous and shitty of people who, like, got super successful. And it didn't take me long to sort of change in that respect, where it was just like, you know what, like, especially at this point, man, anybody who's doing well, fucking amen. You know, like, I think the change came in like the early 2000s. It was like, you know what, man, after all this like digital shit, no one's making any money and all this, like, whatever, like, if you can keep it together and do well and actually be talented, you know, like, I'm sure you toured with some cheesy bands in Thursday. You had to have, right?
Sure.
Anybody?
Yeah.
What, like Linkin Park or somebody, or like what? I did a full summer with them. What's the cheesiest band you played with? Be honest.
Oh man, I don't know. I'm just trying to think.
I know Papa Roach was on Warped Tour,
cheesy, but
Papa Roach was on Warped Tour, and I remember.
I mean, there's a shit ton of Warped Tour bands that I can't even remember that were cheesy that we played with. You know what I mean? I just can't.
Falling in Reverse.
It's one of those things where it's like, oh, cheesy band. I can't even remember.
What would you consider a cheesy band from that time? Like, what? I mean, not a name, but like, what? They were just like some metalcore thing that was like auto-tuned and shit.
Like the crabcore shit. That was cheesy. You know, when they do the weird crab walk thing. You know, that's. I was always like, oh, look at that. What is that? You know, it's like you do that in the ocean.
You do that in the ocean. Wow. That's amazing. I'm trying to look over my notes, and I'm like, fuck. Oh, this is the other thing I want to talk to you about. Okay. So I talked to Jay about this last week as well, because I feel like Hot Water kind of borrowed this a little bit from you guys, or maybe vice versa, but I think you guys have done it first. But this whole idea of like doing the weekend flyouts, playing the records, like really efficient touring. I know the Hold Steady has been doing it for years as well. And you know, like a lot of the reasoning behind all that is that it's not that stressful touring schedule. Like, you know what you're going to do, you go and kick ass with all this stuff. And again, we've talked about this personally, but like, I just think that like that up until this fucking whatever's going on right now, that was really what had become the modern day paradigm of touring. Yeah. And you know, was it your manager? Was it Paul who came up with the idea of doing it this way, or like what?
I think so. With Thursday, there's a lot of restrictions in a good way. Like, we have you know, people with families in the band, you know, with kids. We have people with jobs in the band, you know, that they full-time jobs, they can't leave, you know. So there's a lot of restrictions that comes, like, oh no, well, 2 months, no, we can't do that. Like, I got this, and this, you got that, and that, you know. I'm going out playing for this band. Steve's got to do this film, you know, stuff. So it's like, in order to work in, you know, Paul came up with the idea of working within these parameters that we give him, you know, and Paul has the best ideas ever. He's a Superman, that dude. Can't understand a fucking word he says still to this day, but he is the best.
Me neither.
But, like, back in the day, and you know this, like, we you know, you toured so much that, like, you didn't really take your own life, you know, like, your life wasn't important, you know. It was just about being on the road and partying and playing these shows and fucking you know. But I think as you get older, it's like you have to be more important. So you can only play your best and be your best self if you can, you know, not stress out people at home, not stress out, yourself. So I think in my opinion, it's a smarter way to tour, and that's how I want to continue to tour.
Well, yeah, I mean,
So you don't want to get burned out.
It seemed like with Thursday, especially, you guys got burned out for sure. In the early 2000s, you were like in rough shape.
Dude, I'll tell you, man. Here's what happened. We toured so much, and we did so much towards the end that we still loved each other when the band broke up the first time. There was no bad blood. We had just toured so much that we weren't making enough money to yield a life outside of touring. And then when you get home from touring, it's not like you can get a job to,
Right.
facilitate your home life. You know what I mean? We were on the road too much. Nobody's going to hire you when you're at home for a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Right.
You know what I mean? So we just weren't making enough money to survive. We just had to be on the road to make money, and the money we were making was not enough.
No, and that's super stressful. People want to start families and stuff. Although at that time you guys hadn't, but now, obviously, right. Life is different. And Tom got 2 kids.
Tom's got 1 kid. His name is Doug.
Okay.
He's awesome.
Okay. Yeah,
Tim's got 3 kids.
Yeah,
all
fucking
awesome.
Crazy. Andrew doesn't, right?
Steve is a giant kid. No, Andrew's got no kids right now.
Yeah. All right.
I know.
Hi, Lex.
Hi.
That was another thing I wanted to. Oh, hey. Oh my
We
God.
just had a successful bath, you guys.
Oh,
She's
sweet.
here.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Oh my
I'm so
God.
glad I missed the bath, because she usually screams her head off in the bath, and it makes me stressed out. So
Yeah, that's
thanks,
going to be
Artie.
years and years and years, bud. Years and years and years.
I know.
It's all good.
I know.
Yeah, that was something else I wanted to ask you about. When you guys added Andrew to the band, the sound of the band really kind of changed. And I want to be No Devolution. I don't know if I'm spelling it or pronouncing it right, but that record I felt was such a mature record, and really interesting, and Jeff was doing really weird shit with his voice and putting a lot of effects on things.
Which one are you talking about?
No
you kind
Devolution.
of paused for a second.
No Devolution.
Oh, No Devolution. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I felt like that was that. I remember when that record came out, and I was just holy shit! Okay, these guys are fucking doing it now. This is they've shed their post-hardcore bullshit, and they're this is a serious fucking music, a musician's record, a great record. The fucking drum beats, everything was fucking great. And did you guys make a plan to do that, or was it just fuck it, we're still the kids in the basement going for it?
I think we,
because it was still a business at that point, right?
Yeah, it was still a business, and we always were, every record we made, we wanted to make a better record than the last, and we wanted to make a different record than the last. We didn't want to always make the same record. I think that's we wanted to do the thing that Thursday does that people like always, because that's what we are. That's what Instruction was. That's what Primitive Weapons was. It's, you want to stay the same band, but you gotta improve. You got to improve on the things that you want to improve on, and things that you like to play now are different than things that you like to play in 2001. You know what I mean? So I just remember writing No Answers. That's my favorite Thursday song we've ever written.
And I was going to ask you about that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I've loved that song. It was fun to do. It was weird. It's cool. It's fun. I don't know. We never sat down and were like, let's make a fucking weird record. Let's get really, into this weird shit. We always.
I can see Jeff sitting at home thinking that, though, going, I'm going to write a weird record.
He could have. He could have. He's very
his brain just going
Yeah. It's funny because we always wrote the music first, and Jeff always helped write the music as well. He does the vocals solely himself, all the lyrics and stuff, but he always helps write the music, and write a bunch of the songs.
Does he play guitar at rehearsal, or
he does?
He does. Okay.
Yeah. sometimes he plays guitar, sometimes he just listens, you know, and is coming up with stuff. But he, you know, he's a huge part of the writing process as far as like, you know, I mean, he hears the song before everybody else does. That's how I see it. You know what I mean?
It's awesome. Yeah.
But we always made it a point to make the music stand up on its own without vocals. You know, so essentially it's like kind of writing, you know, an instrumental.
Right.
Being an instrumental band, and then Jeff like comes in last minute with these crazy awesome vocals and lyrics and stuff. So it's, you know, I think when you write stuff like that, you know, things can get a little more grand, but you know, the vocals coming in makes it takes it back into a Thursday song again. You know what I mean?
Of course. Yeah, I mean, that record is just like, it's just really diverse, and it's really different. It just sounds like it sounds like a different band in a lot of ways, but at the same time, like, you know, like in listening to it at the time when it came out in 2011, I think, like, you know, I was like, wow, I was pretty blown away, and then, like, you know,
Thanks,
then
dude.
moving forward, like playing with you and having the privilege of playing with you, which was fucking awesome. Like, you know, I got it. You know, I got like where a lot of these, you know, and you know, I'm closer with you and Steve and Jeff. Tom, I know sort of, you know, like Andrew, I know pretty well, but like, you know, everybody's a fucking weirdo. You know, including myself. But yeah, it's just like it just like getting to know you guys really well. I just, that record just made so much sense to me. It's a fucking cool record, and it was a good way
Thanks,
to do something like different and interesting. I don't know, you know, I know, like, you know, after that Jeff went on to do the stuff with the Lost Prophets guys, which was a daring move, shall we say.
Yeah.
You know, none of those guys did anything wrong.
No.
Neither did Jeff.
Sweetest
like,
dudes ever.
And that record did really well. Yeah, I met them. I actually fucking hung out more with the singer dude at a show in like Houston or Dallas or something. Squishy Man might know. But yeah, it's like, yeah, that whole thing was so fucking weird, but whatever.
Yeah.
Like, in these dark times, like, like to think about something like that happening is just like, what the fuck? What the fuck?
Yeah, fuck that.
How the fuck does this exist? I don't understand.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, man. So like, is there, or like moving forward? I mean, it's funny on your Wikipedia page. I wanted to say that it said that your last show ever was supposed to be at St. Vitus. Those shows you guys played, it was like 2018. Was it? No. Yeah. No, it was 2019.
Like
it was last
2019.
year. It was last year because I just did your 1099. So
Thank you.
And then like it was like, this is supposed to be the last show, and then I mean, I know it's impossible to predict what's going to happen in the future, but do you guys want to keep going on and doing stuff? You know, like is that something that you're interested in right now, or you're not? Let me address
the first part of it being the last show. We never said it was going to be the last show. It was the last show of the 20th anniversary touring, which we were playing Full Collapse and More of the Time front to back. Okay. So when publications got a hold of that and turned it into the last show, that's when all the shit hit the fan. Last show. It's like, it was never the fucking last show. But I mean, moving forward, I mean, I still talk to the dudes every day, every couple days. You know, it's obviously we're in a quarantine, so nothing can really happen right now. But you know, we are gonna play more shows for sure. We just don't know when. You know.
Awesome.
But other than that, like, we're just playing it cool. You know, we're having a good time. Least, you know, playing with each other again. You know?
Yeah, I mean,
Go ahead.
It's very apparent when you're on stage too, that everybody's like, you know, like fucking psyched about being together and hanging out, and you know, like it's got a good spirit, like from the old days style. You know, it's fucking great.
I feel like the luckiest dude in the world to get to play with all the people that I play with. You know what I mean? Like, and to have the job that I have. I feel like the luckiest fucking dude in the world. You know, even though it's not like I'm not fucking rich and, you know, like spending $650,000 on a record. I still feel like I'm a fortunate motherfucker.
Wasn't my
to be able to
money.
play with all these people, yourself included.
No, I mean it's yeah, dude. Like, listen, I just like, you know, I obviously we're all worried about each other right now. You know, everybody's like in a fucking weird place, and you know, we none of us know when live music's going to come back or how any of this is going to fucking work. Personally, I think as talented of a drummer as you are, you're going to have a gig because, you know, whether it be streaming or whatever the case might be that shit's going to move forward with, you know, everybody needs a fucking solid drummer. And,
Well,
you know, like,
I appreciate that. And I
know,
that's my plan, dude. I have my own home, you know, drum studio. I'm going to start doing remote drums, you know, recording and stuff like that. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, you know? Obviously, we live by playing live shows, you know what I mean? You have a fucking venue that lives, that breeds live shows, you know what I mean? It's just insane. It's like, my wife just lost her job and her maternity leave. You know, like, we can't tour or do anything. You're fucked right now. You know, it's just, everything is crazy. We're all going through this insane fucking time, and there's not one single person that knows what's going to happen.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean,
or when music's going to come back.
That's the surreal bit about all this is just like the idea that like we just don't know what's going to happen. And, you know, like I almost don't want to have conversations with anybody about it until there's something, some sort of like, you know, like, you know, throw it out there. Okay, well, you might be able to have 50 people in the room, or you might be able to have 75 people in the room. Oh, okay, cool, great. You know, it's right now, this is the heart of it. This is the hardest part, and we'll get through it. And, you know, like you said, like we're blessed to have lives. I mean, I'm sitting in my fucking bar that hasn't been taken away from me yet. And
it
I love
won't
it.
be.
I hope not, man. I hope not. We'll see. You know,
Are you in South?
Yeah. And you know, it's this whole Age of Quarantine series has been really special. I want to thank Chris Enriquez for starting it. And like, you know, really going out of his way to make sure that, like, you know, we can all fucking communicate and lose ourselves for an hour. You know, that was a great conversation. And I love you.
I love you too, dude.
Dude, like, you have no idea. And it's like, I wish we were fucking loading into fucking fucking Brooklyn Steel right now and sound checking.
So we can fuck that song up one more time.
We wouldn't fuck it up, I promise.
I say we, but it was me. I know it was me. I can take I'm big enough man to take the credit.
Oh, whatever. It's fine. But yeah, just a side note, I have to do a couple of things because they're going to cut us off in 2 minutes. I'm going to be interviewing Frank Turner on Sunday. Everybody knows Frank Turner.
Yeah.
Everybody loves Frank Turner. And he's been, apparently, when I wrote to him, he was like, I've been waiting to hear from you. What the fuck? And it's like Frank, apparently I only interview people who don't drink. So, you know, like this should be interesting. And handsome. handsome, tall guy.
Yeah.
So, but we're going to be doing it at a special time at 4 o'clock New York time, 9 o'clock UK time on Sunday. So we'll do that. Everybody go to our Kickstarter. Please donate some money. Go to our Venmo and donate some money to our staff. Tucker, thank you so much. I miss you, buddy.
Miss you too.
And fucking much love to your baby and Lexi and everybody. And cheers,
to you and the fam. Send me some Aegist riffs so we can write some songs.
That's fucking Eric's job, dude. Fuck that shit.
Well, tell Eric. Speaking of tall. Fuck
right,
that
buddy.
guy.
I love you,
dude.
buddy.
Appreciate you.
Later.
Love you too, man. Later.